use modeler from PAG.
Jeanette.
Good afternoon. I'm Jeanette Duran, Transportation Planning Director here at PAG.
And Hannah.
Hi, everyone. I'm Hannah Oden, Planning Coordinator at PAG.
Mirella. Mirella, are there?
Do you say Mirella or?
Yes,
sorry.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, so this is Mirella Hromadka with Pima County
Okay.
Wastewater Planner.
And Tracy.
Tracy Gutheim, Operations Manager, Pima County Development Services.
And Anthony.
Yeah, Anthony Batchelder, Pima County Finance, Budget Division, Property Tax Assembly Group.
Okay. And Carla. I think you just joined and you need to just mute yourself. Then I will call later. And Dylan.
Yes, Dylan Perry, Senior Planner, Town of Cerrito Planning and Zoning.
And George.
Hi, I'm George Hammond, Director of the Economic and Business Research Center at the University of Arizona.
Yeah, I think I missed James Tokishi.
Ishi, Modeling Coordinator at PAG.
And Jim Chang.
Hi, this is Jim Chen, State Demographer from the Office of Economic Opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. And Dean. So you need to just mute yourself. Oh, then I call later. Then Lenny?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you.
Dean Trammell, Planning and Engineering with Tucson Water with the City of Tucson.
Okay, thank you. And Melanie?
Hi, Melanie Sims, Principal Planner with the Town of Oro Valley.
Yeah, looks like just another Yunmi.
Hi, I'm Yunmi Zhang, Data Analysis Coordinator, the PAC.
And other than that, on the caller, and would you intro yourself? Can you just unmute yourself?
Hi, Carla Blackwell with Pima County Development Services.
Okay, thank you so much. Is there anyone I missed?
Yes, me.
Oh, I'm sorry, Steve.
Sorry, Steve Cheslock, Town of Marana, Planning Manager.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
And moving to just the next item, in-kind reporting. Regional planning efforts are enhanced by recording time donated by attendees, volunteers, and participants. The PAC collects data on the time dedicated to meetings and the activities to apply for use as matching funds for grants and the federal dollars. If you are paid with the federal dollars, please let us know now. And time spent in preparation for this meeting will be estimated by PAC staff who are knowledgeable of the agenda and the meeting materials. And the conclusion of this meeting, the session report will automatically calculate your time spent in this meeting. Time spent working on PAC RTA initiatives, programs, and the special projects may also be eligible for consideration for matching funds. And moving to just the next item, number 3, 2055 RMAP procedure and the census area timeline. Hannah and I will just discuss about this item. Hannah, would you start?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, if I go to the next slide, please. All right, thanks. I'm just going to quickly go over just the 2055 RMAP procedure. So the RMAP is is PAG's long-range transportation plan. It's the regional mobility and accessibility plan. Currently, we're in the process of updating the previous one. So we're looking forward to 2055 for that long-range plan. So just kind of going over the procedure and kind of, the big steps of this plan looking forward. So Current, PopTech, as you know, just reviews the population projections and land use model input. So that's currently in progress and is part of what's going to be discussed today. A huge part of the RMAP or key component are the actual projects that go in there. So jurisdictional partners submit projects to be considered for inclusion in that long range plan. So that's currently in progress. Last month, we opened up the Project Explorer for jurisdictions to submit projects for possible inclusion in the RMAP. So that runs until September 22nd is when we would like those projects to be put in there, because the next step is that we actually have to finalize the project list. And that really comes down to the fiscal constraint of the RMAP and making sure that the in-plan projects do fall into the required fiscal constraint. So once the project list is finalized, the land use model and the travel demand model scenarios can be run for modeling. And then PopTech also reviews the development patterns with the traffic analysis zones, population, and employment growth. So again, that's also reviewed through PopTech. So after that's done, we'll have a draft RMAP that is reviewed and finalized, and ultimately that plan will be approved by regional council. So we're looking at the end of next year for that. So that's kind of the big steps there. But Jeanette, I don't know if there's anything that you'd like to add.
No, that's pretty much it. I think the reason we wanted to put this slide in today was just to show the relationship between PopTech and the RMAP, the long range plan. The work that you guys do is really integral into achieving that plan and getting the modeling work underway. So that's all we have, unless there's any questions.
Okay, then just the next slide. And it is about like a census in the area timeline, and more likely just in the area timeline. And here just we've been requesting just the building permit regularly, and but especially just this year a little bit delayed, and especially for 2023 area population estimate. So hoping to just get it done and quickly, and for 2023 area population estimate. So here is the deadline, and September 30. This is actually for area deadline, which means that we have to just update it, and hoping to just discuss and sometime in just early October about those in the building permit trends, or just the updated portion. Then just December 15, and as usual, in the county and the sub-county population estimate and deadline, and the full area. And so hoping to just discuss further, reviewing together with the PopTech and the members and the interested parties. And plus just I brought some just additional and the census update and the urban area, and now just available, the shapefile. And I just shared the link here, FHW link. You can actually download the whole just the United States, including Hawaii. But you can actually just filter out those in the shapefile, the portion in the Arizona, and further down like Pima County. And if you want to just know about just the whole just the procedure and the further details and the spreadsheet of the census urban area, like a more like a simplified version, you can also visit those at the link, the second, and the 2020 census urban area link. You can find that. And then the census 2020 DHC and demographic profile is also available. And that's the more just the items regarding just the races and household related items. Then also some map viewer, and the link is actually attached here. So you can find that in the more like the geographic and the backgrounds of those files available. Okay, this is the update, and also just the based on and HANA and the RMS stuff. So we're just kicking up, and most of just the parts and will be shared with you and the jurisdiction partners more likely in terms of reviewing together of those inputs about just the back language model, and also just the results of our language model and just the travel demand model. So we are hoping to just the new and activity-based model for this in the RMAP and the new in the exercise. So hoping to just discuss further detailed and outputs from the activity-based model together. And do you have any questions to Hannah or to me? Okay, great. And thank you. And then moving on to next item. Land use model input development for 2055 RMAP. And Eric is going to just discuss about that. Thank you, Eric.
Okay. Do I have control of the slides?
Krista, and would you hand over the control to Eric?
Okay, hold on a second.
Yeah, maybe you will see on the bottom, the control.
Eric,
Yeah.
on the bottom, there you go.
Okay. I can't use the keyboard, I guess. Okay. All right. So good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to talk a little bit about one of the inputs for our land use model, which is the density table of for the future land use designations. Overall in our input development, we've been working towards a long-range plan, and so our objective is to take a sub-county and regional future growth forecast and allocate that growth in our land use model into that feeds into the travel demand model. And then ultimately, our travel demand model will forecast the growth and how it will impact the roads and travel in the future. All right. Our model, our overall model, which includes the land use model. Oops, I guess hold on. I'm not seeing the. Sorry here.
Eric, it looks like I just we don't see you are just a mouse or a pointer.
Yeah,
And,
I'm trying to. I don't have. I'm trying to do that. Control and then the mouse click. Is that
the pointer?
It's not working.
Oh.
Okay, so I can't really point to the screen.
Yeah, then
but,
maybe just verbally.
To the left, you'll see the 3 inputs: existing land use, adopted land use plan, and the development constraints, and then growth capacity by growth type. That's where we are. That's what we're talking about today. That feeds into the model. The growth capacity is that density table, and it's for each land use designation, we'll have a density, and then for each growth input or each growth sector, employment, 6 sectors and 1 residential, those will each have a density number associated with them. Now you could think of that as a kind of a constraint, because the land use, that just is kind of a background for the land use model to when it allocates, which is a totally different procedure. When it allocates growth to any place, any location, it will use how much, what will be the build out of that particular location. That's what the density table is basically providing us, is a constraint on what growth will be for a particular piece of land. So yeah, both the land use model and the travel demand model are connected, and in each iteration, each 5-year period, they generate outputs that feed into each other. Next. So for this our land use model is really to distribute these forecasted housing and jobs to discrete locations in the jurisdictional area. And whoops. Can everybody see the full screen there? Because I can't. Anyway, but so we have market demands that are simulated and modeled that determine where growth will occur. What's the likelihood that growth will occur in particular locations? We have a market supply, which would be the land availability for development or redevelopment, and also the capacity of land, that would be the density table. And then we also have the jurisdictional plans and policy, which both shape the demand and supply that are expressed in the models. Okay. And our initial model preparation includes updates to plans, getting the current parcels, housing, employment, using the forecasts, economic forecasts, as well as population forecasts, as well as local knowledge from our planning partners and stakeholders. And then we need to convert this data through analysis to information. So in this case of the density table, we're talking about the capacity for growth depends on measures of development intensity, which would be the density or jobs of housing density units per area. So this would be what we develop out of this analysis. Again, and there are two kind of parallel tracks here. We have planning information, but it really needs to be translated into quantitative terms. So we have general plans, but how do we take something that's kind of sort of a guiding blueprint, generic in a way, and how do we translate that quantitatively into growth, into our sectors that we use? So we have to estimate the development intensity for each land use designation by growth sector using, again, there's two tracks here, both existing development patterns, which would be kind of a statistical analysis of existing data that we have, quantitative data. And then the second would be kind of the aspirational goals that we would get from jurisdictions. And then we would establish our target densities, our build-out densities for the specific land use designations. So, and then again, in both tracks, we can review and adjust these figures based on what's reasonable and what makes sense for the model and also for the jurisdictions. So today I was going to go through an example of what would be, say, the commercial land use designation in not Sarita, but Marana. Let's see. Next. Okay, just sorry. This would be an example of the aspirational goals. So we have things like specific plans, PADs, PDCs. The densities that we would determine or agree on would be based on the discussions with our jurisdictional partners. And this is kind of speculative, but generally we have greater certainty with this type of plan than for our general future land use designations, which is more based on a statistical analysis of current conditions, and we're sort of projecting those current conditions into the future. So that's a kind of one of the assumptions there. But and then finally, we would translate these units, or what would be the build out for these particular areas, into average densities over the geography in question. Okay. So for our existing pattern analysis, this is which I'm going to discuss right now, is again, it's based on data that we have. And we have jobs and housing data. We have land use data from parcels, current parcels that have been developed. And then we ultimately are trying to translate all this into the planned land use or the future land use classes that, again, they are something like the commercial land use designation is kind of a placeholder to guide future growth. And most of the land is not currently developed. If, for example, here you see in the graphic the commercial land use designation for Marana. The yellow area indicates an area that's kind of built out or close to being built out, the yellow polygons. And the red are basically vacant at this time, not developed. To get reasonable estimates for our 6 employment sectors and residential sector, we basically have to combine our data sets, combining our parcels that have the use codes, the DOR, Department of Revenue use codes, with the planned or future land use geography. And then we would also combine locations of current housing and employment with parcels as well. So, and from those GIS operations, we develop crosswalks to essentially quantify the relation between the data elements. So, for example, the distribution of planned versus developed land use classes, we were looking at the % share by acreage of parcel use for each future land use designation. Another crosswalk is the distribution of growth sectors. Those are the 6 employment plus 1 residential by land use class. So we looking at the % share of units by the parcel use codes, which are land use codes that the Department of Revenue uses. And then thirdly, we look at the concentration of growth sectors by existing land use class. So the density of jobs and housing units by those parcel use codes. And that's a jurisdictional type of analysis. Next. So that first crosswalk we do by sampling development patterns by 2-digit DOR use codes, but in built out areas. So that would be parcel or polygons that are contiguous that have 75% or more total development of land. Those would be close to being built out in our understanding. So we want to sample from areas, get a representative sample of what would be the current or existing development pattern. And we remove the undevelopable land from the analysis as well. So we're only looking at the acreage for developed, built out, close to being built out. For example, so this is that area again that in Marana that is commercial. Again, the yellow is would be the areas that we're sampling from. The red areas are the areas that would be excluded from the sampling. All right. So in this case, our analysis of this particular crosswalk shows, for example, that 37% of the acreage is for the commercial would be use code 11, which is convenience and strip stores, supermarkets. 22% of acreage is for shopping centers, 6% industrial warehouses, and 5.3% restaurants, bars, etc. So, and if you sum up all the use codes, it will total 100%. So that's what we're looking at. And then our second crosswalk is about the generalized patterns of residential employment distribution. This is a regional analysis. So we overlay our planned parcels with the current counts of housing and jobs by employment sectors, by using the point source data that we have. And so each of our use codes on the parcel level we'll have 7 different sectors there, and for each of these use codes will have a distribution of the growth sectors by the number of jobs or housing. So for example, regionally, we see 45% of all jobs on parcels classified as use code 11 is retail. Another 42% is service. 56% of jobs on parcels with a use code of 14 is retail, and another 38.6 is service. 98.7% of all jobs are in use code 20 are restaurant or service jobs. Okay, and then finally, for example here, 60% of the jobs with the use code 37 is industrial, another 21% is service, and so on. So you will see, yeah, the percentages will add up to 100% for each of these use codes. All right. And then third, we have the jurisdictional unit density, the jobs and housing per acre by use code. So use codes will either be employment or residential, and then we overlay planned parcels with employment and housing locations, point source data. And so for Marana, we see use code 11, strip center supermarket has a density of 15.9 jobs per acre. Shopping centers has a density of 20.6 jobs per acre, and restaurants and bars has a density of 24 jobs per acre. Warehousing has a density of 12.3 jobs per acre. Those are the major uses for the commercial land use designation. Another thing that factors into this is what we call vacant in use, the ratio of land considered vacant in use. Vacant in use is really the land that is not used for development, but is used for things like access roads, utilities, drainage basins. So what we're trying to determine here is what share of the land acreage is typically not for employment, and we use that ultimately to provide a little discount to our final density calculation. And based on our current analysis, we have about 32% of any development on planned land use geography regionally would be discounted as vacant in use. That's similar to what we had last RMAP. And then we have a calculation that goes into this. So for each land use designation and specific growth sector, we have to sum the product of these crosswalks: the jurisdictional density by use code, the share of total future land acreage by use code, and then the share of total growth sector units by use code. And then also multiply that by the set aside or the discount rate for the fully developed, built out or non-vacant land. So our table, our output will, for each land use designation, will have a density or development intensity target for each of the 6 employment sectors and residential. And this represents a kind of a typical build out density after deducting the vacant land that's used for roads and utilities, etc. So in the case of commercial, we have various build out densities for that land use designation, around 10.2 jobs in total, very little residential because it's not typically a residential type of development. All right. And again, these are all things that we want to review with the jurisdictions and stakeholders. Right now, the next steps we're going to be doing are, we're going to be updating our geography. Some of this is well underway, but things like specific plans, we will also need to get updates because some growth has occurred, or there may be new plans that we need to incorporate. And then finally, we will seek feedback from everyone. We hope to have a online map type application where people can review the numbers. Again, this is just a kind of a constraint. It's not actually where things are going to be allocated. That's really the part of the model parameters that will be developed. But this is kind of just a basic constraint to that. So, and then we would like to have, if needed, individual meetings and follow up with the jurisdictions to adjust these numbers or to just get feedback, additional feedback. And that's it. Any questions?
Hey, Jonathan, and yeah, go ahead.
Hey, thanks. Jonathan Crow. I didn't sign in early. Jonathan Crow with Pima County Transportation. Thanks, everybody. Nice presentation, Eric. I might have missed this at the beginning, and I apologize. But I guess I want to understand a little bit better why we're doing this. You know, obviously I understand the purpose of, one of the purposes of the land use model is to generate traffic projections over the long term, and I'm guessing there are other purposes for the model as well that I'm not appreciating at the moment. But what I'm kind of drilling down to and eventually going to get to with follow-up is, you know, what the next steps are in the traffic generation methodology is. So I guess the first question is, you know, why are we doing this? And then related to that is, do you think some of the changes or adjustments to, you know, these numbers of employment and the land use intensities make a big difference? And because I mean, it's a lot of work that you guys are putting into this. You developed a pretty quantitative methodology to do this, but I'm wondering, you know, when you're all said and done, are there enough parcels that you are adjusting, or that we as the jurisdictions will be adjusting, that will ultimately make that much of a difference in the final output in terms of future traffic? Or are we just kind of, you know, working on the 1 to 2 to 3% margins by any adjustments that we're going to be giving to you? Kind of a big question, but I'll let you go.
Well, again, this is just one part of this. A major portion probably takes up the majority, a huge chunk of what gets allocated from any year would be the known projects of from the jurisdiction. So that those have priority in the modeling. So again, those will be taken care of first. Those will be much more near term types of allocations. But I don't know. I mean, it's these adjustments again. The part of it is ultimately on the model parameters, and we'll discuss those and have to calibrate those. But and Sue,
Just
you
one-
want to?
Yeah, I just want to add on top, and yeah, that's right. Just more likely, and we'd like to just address and the jurisdictions and the development, and which is called in the known project. Last just the exercise through just the RMAP, we actually incorporated most of just kind of just the well-known like as a project, and incorporate in our just RMAP exercise, also through just a one-on-one meeting. And we actually just adjusted and based on those discussion and actual just the items, and for like hopefully just the moving forward, and kind of just in short, and like it's just a time horizon. So we kind of just understand that, and more likely just in terms of other than like it's a known project, we'd like to just address the based on the approved and or just adopted like just a plan, and in terms of just adjusting the numbers, and those are kind of major inputs. The reason just that we're trying to just coordinate those and inputs and of the land use model is just showing like it's just a clear, and we have just developed this inputs, and you agree or not agree, then just we just discuss and adjust to just moving forward, and having those in the forecast year, the population projection, and the combined in TAG level, and plus just in the roadway volumes. So those are overall like it's just the but, and this just the PopTech exercise mainly just highlighting, and those and the projections we have in the sub-county level that are located and for each jurisdiction, and with your just approved adopted plan or just a known project. So more likely just you actually each jurisdiction and plan and approved will be and incorporated in our just exercise. Okay.
I guess if I could follow up really quick. So I guess I'm still a bit unclear why we're doing this. Is basically the purpose to try to make the model better, and this is one of the ways you're trying to do that, to understand the existing development, and then this year at this exercise what the plan development is, to the extent that the jurisdictions can provide you that information. So is the purpose really just to try to improve upon the accuracy of the model? Is that the reason we're doing this?
This is actually just understanding, and first, and Eric, would you go back to that slide and earlier, like an integrated portion TGM and
Sure.
model? So we actually trying to consider which is called the demand side and the supply side. So all those, and like just Jonathan, you have just your project list and the construction, just the plan, and been discussed with through just the RMAP or just the TPC or just the TMC and those and the committees. So combining together, and as well as just those and the improvement and the model development, and on top of that, and we also have just the plan and the adopted plan, and for years just the development, those all just combined, interacted together. So we tried to kind of just to demonstrate it. Then there's the final output is the volumes, but actually just our goal is just to demonstrate those behavior unforeseeable just the future, and showing those and the development and the interaction between and the demand side and the supply side. So final output is actually volumes. But the caveat, I'm sorry about that. Our target year is 2055, and it could be updated every 5-year period, but it could be updated every 5 to 10 years.
That's right.
Does that help to?
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it.
Okay, great. And any other questions and regarding just this and presentation? Okay, great. Then just moving forward. And 2023, 2060 census designated places population projection called the CDP, and Caroline will discuss about that. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming to the meeting. Okay, back in April, I already presented the projection for the jurisdiction level. Right now, do it again for different things. I have the control, right? Let me see how I control it. I'm trying to see it. Tell me again how to control. Okay, is it that one? It's okay. It's working now. Yeah. Okay. Sorry that I'm still learning what to do with it. Today what I'm going to present to you is the CDP projection, and I will briefly talk about the background, what the numbers was, and what the method that I'm using, and show you briefly the results and have some discussion. Sorry, it's kind of slow. I already clicked the button and it took a second to change it. Okay, the background is back in 2011, there was an executive order was signed by the governor. At that time, the executive order required ADOA to produce the projection. At that time, ADOA basically actually is we'll talk about the State Demography Office, and it was under ADOA. And now it's moved to AOEO, and so the executive order still will bind to the new office, AOEO. And so we asked the state demographer to produce the projection for the state, for the counties, and for the sub-county. Sub-county we interpret as the incorporated city and towns, the municipalities, which is already show you the projection numbers, and we have already discussed it back in April, the PopTech. So now we are looking at CDP, which actually is not mandatory, it's not required by the executive order. It is the AOEO just decided to produce this geography level projection. So we get this number from the AOEO, and PAC decide to work with the AOEO to look at those numbers. So when we look at the historical population, we talk about the CDP projection. There's no population estimate for the CDP level, and it's because it's not really commonly used. It's not a lot of widely need to have the CDP population. So what we mainly have is the census number. The decennial census number, with the Census Bureau will publish the CDP population. And in between the census, there is no estimate or any numbers produced by AOEO or Census Bureau for the CDP numbers. So that is the major thing that how we work on the CDP population with very limited number of historical numbers. Oh, sorry, I still try to get it. Okay, so we look at we said that we only have the census number. AOEO look at the historical census number. They look at the 2000 and 2010 and 2020, the 3 years census CDP number. But the boundary of the CDP is not incorporated. It's nothing that is like the incorporated places that you have the official boundary. It's purely drawn by Census Bureau. They draw the boundary of the CDP. But it will be different every census because the CDP could be grow, could be disappeared, and next census may not be there anymore. They probably cancel that CDP, or could be have a new CDP. And the CDP boundary is different from each census. So in order to really to do the projection and to do analysis, you got to have a unified boundary. So AOEO used the GIS tool to estimate what was the census number in 2000, in 2010, using the GIS tool to line up with 2020 boundary. That means we estimate what was the 2000 population, CDP population in 2020 boundary. So because of this GIS tool that you have to really calculate and estimate, so it could be slightly some inaccuracy because of calculation. So it may not be exact, really true head count of census population. Is this mainly is the April 1st population estimate. So we have the 2000, 2010, and 2020 population as the input data to do the analysis to calculate. But the projection actually is project July 1st population of each year until 2060. So AOEO has the estimate the as census population, and then they have a draft passed on to PAC back a couple months ago. What they did is they used the CDP, each CDP, the share of the county percentage share, and apply to that share to the rest of the horizon, projection horizon, and to estimate that all the growth is the same, the unified growth. This is a simple method that is a first draft, basic draft to kind of have a set at the base, have a starting point to look at the numbers. So, for example, if the CDP A have 5% of the balance of Pima County, and assume this 5%, it will be stay constant for the rest of 40 years. So until 2060, will be still 5% of the balance of Pima County. So because of that assumption, so the growth, all of the growth will be unified, will be all of them have the same growth along with Pima County balance. So by 2060, from 2020 to 2060, these 40 years, the Pima County balance has 21.26% growth for these 40 years. So all the CDP will have the same growth rate because the percentage of the share with the relation with the balance of Pima County has the same. So that's why the growth will be the same. So they pass it on the draft to PAC and discuss with PAC, or we have some meeting with AOEO, and we discuss the numbers and methodologies. So AOEO mentioned to PAC that maybe we can do our own numbers, we can do our own projection and see what will come out. So PAC actually look at the numbers, look at those 3 decades numbers. Basically only 3 numbers because it's 3 census numbers. And also we try to look at the pattern, look at the growth pattern of each CDPs, and so that we can project what will be the next 40 years. So we kind of categorize the CDPs in 3 groups. The group A, the group number 1 is using the method 1 is assume they have not really much growth in these 40 years. And so we keep the growth rate as a 0 because where remote area, probably they hardly have much growth. The growth will be slow. And also PAC does not really have a lot of information of those CDP remote area. And so we assume they have 0 growth rate. There's one group of CDPs. And then another group of CDP, PAC has all those information about the building permits and the housing unit inventory of those CDPs. So we use the building permit and housing unit information and to project what possible in the future, that how the growth pattern of the housing unit in last 20 years and possible the growth pattern in the future. So this group of CDP using method 2 is some of the CDP possible they grow more in the last 10 years than the last 20 years. So there's a method A, 2A is maybe 20%, the pattern of 20% of 2020, year 2000 to 2010, this 10 years, their growth pattern maybe have 20% chance will be that pattern. And then will be probably 80% chance will be another pattern come from 2010 to 2020. And method B is similar, look at similar thing, but assume possible have 30% chance you have this similar pattern of 2000 to 2010, and then 70% chance of 2010 to 2020. And C is basically the same thing, the different chance or probability is 40% to 60%. And then we also look at the possible that some of the CDPs, they grow and grow and grow last 20 years from 2000 to 2020. These 20 years they've been growing, but they may not grow as much anymore later on when the growth probably is saturated or the build out or come to the plateau. The growth curve is come to the top and plateau, and it will be really slow growth later on. So we assume that some of the CDP possible they still grow, but it's a decreasing rate. So starting from next year, 2024, or some of the CDP will stop grow fast, is slow down the growth in 2031, or they will slow down, come to the plateau in 2041. So this is all the assumption in second group using the method 2 for using the housing unit method. So method 3 is some of those CDPs we don't really have a lot, also don't have the housing unit information, and also the pattern of the housing unit growth maybe is not exactly lined up with the population growth. And we look at the population growth, it seems like the growth of population may be more reliable, maybe more makes sense. So in method 3 is we don't use the housing unit we don't look at the housing unit growth. We look at purely just a population growth. So we look at the 20 years ago from 2000 to 2010, what the growth pattern, the growth rate pattern of 20 years ago, and then growth rate pattern of 2010 to 2020, 10 years ago. What this pattern assume 30% chance duplicate of 20 years ago and 70% chance that 10 years ago. And then the method B is a little bit slightly change, is 20% growth of 20 years ago and 80% chance for the last 10 years. So we just come up with different scenario, different possible pattern of their growth in housing unit or the population pattern. And so it applies in different CDPs because each CDP, basically every one of them will have really different, they have different growth pattern or how it develop, how it growth in housing unit. Everyone is different. So we apply different method in different CDPs. That's why we have come up so many different methods. Okay, so land use model, it is what just Eric talked about, all those capacity. Because besides looking at the housing unit, we are looking at the population. We also look at when PET developed the land use model, what the capacity of the CDP. And it could be in some point that it could grow and grow up to a certain point, it may up to build out is already limit of the capacity. So we use the information from the land use model for the capacity of each CDP and make it as a at our constraint that if the CDP come to the capacity level, we stop the growth of that particular CDP. So we come up to this basic draft. The incorporated municipalities that we already showed you this number back in April during the April PopTech meeting, and also the unincorporated balance of Pima County. Also, these two rows in blue colors, it is shown in April. What is different is the CDP, and we did some calculation. We come up to those 53 CDPs. This is the number that we come up. We'll show you more detail later. And the small balance of Pima County means after you have deduct all the CDPs, that is small balance. That means using the balance of Pima County minus all the CDPs, it becomes the small balance. That means the residual after you deduct the CDPs. So this is the number, and I'll show you the percentage. Sorry. Okay, so this is the growth rate of each geography level for each 10 years period. So you see what's the percentage change, the growth between 2000 to 2010 and 2010 to 2020. And so you can see up to the growth of 2000 2060, the last row, the most right hand side, the last row, the right here. Yeah, it's not working. Yeah, so, I can't get it. Well, I try to get a pointer. It's not working either. So yeah, it did not work. So the growth in between these 2020 to 2060, and you can see this is the growth that our projection come out, that the small balance is 70%, and the CDP will come out to 21.91%, and the balance of Pima County 21.26%. And that is graph. This is the chart that the yellow one is all the CDP add together, and the gray color one is the small balance of Pima County, and it will sum up to the balance of Pima County, the total balance of Pima County. And I'm showing you two different things right now here because there are 50-something CDP, and I cannot just explain to you every one of them. So I'm showing you top 10 largest CDP in 2060. So our projection project that the largest CDP in 2060 could be Casa Adobes and Catalina Foothills. And those numbers that actually it will be going kind of slow down that up to the capacity level, that it will be slow down the growth later on. But anyway, this is, they already starting point in 2000, 2010, they actually is a big CDP. So they are not really going very fast, but they still will be maintained as one of those top 10 CDPs once you get to 2060. And we have to come to in the SOS, we'll be getting bigger and bigger, and Green Valley. And that is the number that we come up in 2060. And that is the percentage change, that how the growth in between 2020 to 2060, these 40 years, how it grows. And that's why I said that Casa Adobes and Catalina Foothills, we don't expect that they really have a large growth. It's just because they have a large population to start with. But really, Venezia West will have a really big growth, and the large well is also will be a big growth. I also want to show you that the top fastest growth CDPs in 2060. Some of the CDPs, they are not really big from the very beginning, but then they grow fast. They have lots of development, and we're going faster and faster. So it is, you can see the Venezia West have come up to 33,000, or Rincon Valley, we come up to 12,000. When it was 20 years ago, they only few thousand people, and it's right now is a lot bigger, a lot more. So this is the top 10 fastest growth CDP. And this is the percentage how it grows. And we expect that within these 40 years, they grow a double. Some of those you can see well, it's almost a double. And in the East West, they actually grow more than a double. This is the graph that I want to show you. And so basically we will I'll show you the appendix that which is all the 50 CDP in the later slides. We will continue to discuss with Pima County because these numbers I show you is just the first draft that PAC come up with. We have the definitely we will incorporate all the comments from Pima County to see which CDPs need to change, which projection numbers will make sense or not make sense, or need to increase the growth or decrease the growth. So we continue the discussion with the Pima County about the population projection for each CDP. And we try to see if we can come up with the final number and give to AOEO before the deadline, and hopefully actually in August, hopefully we can come up to the final number in August so that AOEO can publish the number in September. But one thing is all the CDP's projection will be produced, but will not publish to the public for all CDPs, because you can see some of the CDPs are very small, even 100 people, or like some one of it is why it's only 1-2 people. And so the small CDPs is not really going to publish by AOEO. But if anyone need the numbers, AOEO has the number. They can provide to the public for all 50 CDPs, but it just will not be published on the website. So this is the draft, the first draft, and we are open up for any comment or any suggestion or anything that we need to look at. And feel free to give us the comment, and we take all the advice, all the suggestion, and we incorporate all the information. We try to, if we need to, we will revise our numbers and to incorporate all the insight or all the data that you believe that we should change. And this is appendix that we can once you get the slide, you can look at the numbers. This which method that I use. You can see that I use method 1, method 2A, 2B. The method that I explained to you, which each method, each CDP have different methods to apply to, and some number. If you think that is not make sense or anything that you want to advise PAC to change, feel free to give us any feedback and comments. And yeah, we have this number for you as review, but this is only a draft. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, great. Thank you. And Caroline, the caller, you have a question?
Yeah.
And just in case, and these numbers and mainly related to just the Pima County, because all those in the areas in the Pima County, and yeah, that's the point. And just caller.
Yeah, I just wanted to chime in a little bit because I know we're going to continue our conversation. Pima County has done like a first run analysis on this. And, you know, good job. I mean, there were only 2 areas where we think that it's not really going to grow as aggressively as projected, but we'll go ahead and get those fixed. You know, the 2 areas are basically the Catalina foothills, and then the Flowing Wells area is where, you know, we kind of did a ground truthing to look for developable land or places to put units and just didn't find anything. But for the most part, we're in agreement on almost all of these. We just need to tweak those 2 areas. I did have a question whether you were able to contact the tribal nations about some of the other CDPs that are basically on tribal lands.
Yeah, actually, we sent an email to Tohono. There are 23 CDP is under the triples. And I already actually sum up all those 23 CDPs and give a spreadsheet and email to Tohono. They're all under Tohono, only one tribes. But we're waiting for the feedback. I don't know if any chance that they can anytime or any chance that they can reveal our number. Actually, we keep them constant because we don't really have much information about them. And so that's why basically those 23 CDP under Tohono, it is in method 1 because we can't tell whether they will grow or not from just looking at the pattern. They're not really grow. Last 20 years, they may shrink or they are really slow grow. So we just take a prudent method or approach that assume keep it constant as census number. But they know better than us. So I gave the file to them and waiting for them to feedback. So I don't know. And yeah.
Okay, Caroline, thank you. And Jim, do you have a question?
Yes, I see. The official deadline is end of September, but internally, Tara and I have been talking about hopefully publish our projections ahead of time. You have finished your city and town population sub-county projections some time ago. MAG has finished theirs. So we're trying to get the rest of the state done as soon as possible. Our hope is to publish this this month, not even until the end of the month, maybe around 23rd, 24th. That's our goal. But here, you're doing these CDPs. I wonder if you could speed it up and get feedback and do another run and get it ready as soon as possible. So that's one request I would like to ask. The second one is on this spreadsheet, this slide right here, since you're using all these methods, they're not going to come up automatically matching the control, the balance of county control. So these numbers, are they already scaled so that they match up to this projection from the state?
Yeah, we basically, actually, yeah, it will come up supposed to be the small balance add to all the CDP will be the same as the balance of Pima County, just like the previous slide.
Oh, the small county is the residual.
Yeah. So yeah, you see
Okay,
that is basically, yeah, you see this number, the 56, that is small balance of Pima County. And so yeah, we will come up to metric with 44,256. This is our number. The blue color one was the projection come from April, right? That's what we present to the PopTech during April. It is the PAC projection. But also this number actually will add up together. This 383,000 and 56,000. These two numbers add up. It's just to try to match that one. Yeah.
Okay.
It's supposed to be.
I misspoke. The unincorporated balance of Pima County did not come from the state. You guys did that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we did that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. We PAC produced those number. Yes. The two lines, the blue color one, it was come from the April when we did the PopTech meeting. Yeah.
So you projected all these CDPs, and then the small balance of the county is the residual. You don't need to do another round of scaling.
We did not really project the small balance of Pima County. It is the residual. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
We project all the CDPs, all 50 something piece, 50 CDPs.
How about the first point I made about trying to publish this as soon as possible, possibly, about a little more than 2 weeks?
Well, I think we can work with Pima County, right, Cara? Yeah, we can work, speed it up. We can work on it this couple of weeks. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But I just don't know how about the Indian. That's the problem, that I have not heard from the Indian tribes. So I do not know what we possible come up the feedback from the Indian. If possible, then we never hear from them. I don't know.
Yeah.
So
yeah, as far as Pima County, we've finished our review.
We're pretty close.
Yeah, so we just need to probably just sit down with you and go through it.
Yeah, and I understand those two that you have mentioned in your comment. I look at them and actually I analyze them, and I was just want to maybe we can have another meeting that we can talk about those two. I understand you talk about those two, and I did look at them already.
Yeah,
yes,
them reaching build out. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I had a quick other question. We had a comment on the CDPs about 2 master plan communities that are in the small balance of the county and should be part of West Valencia. We would suggest that they be part of that CDP. How long would that take to amend? Is that like a long process then with the census?
Traditionally, it's before every census, the Census Bureau reaches out to us and to all the local communities. I think that they work through the city. You probably worked with them before the 2020 census. And before the 2030 census, you would have another chance to do this. But a few months ago, I saw a presentation saying they're doing this continuously. They can do this every year. So I need to confirm with them and see how that works. I see Tara's hand raised up. Maybe Tara has more information on this.
Yeah, just adding on top of just Jim, you had just the first question, just speeding up, just the caller also mentioned and the Caroline also mentioned. And but we are just speeding up, just hoping to just wrap up in the CDP projection, but excluding just the Indian reservation, hoping to just add and the additional just the components and for Indian reservation, and plus just we're developing the Subcommittee population projection document. So hoping to just wrap up most of the parts and by just the time and sometime like it's August 20 something you actually recommended.
Okay, thank you. That'd be great.
And Tara, you have a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to say something about the tribes. So here in our agency, we actually have a new tribal liaison, and I did reach out to her, and Tohono is not one of the tribes that had any new information that was passed on. So our liaison basically looked through all of her tribal subscriptions, like news and everything that would talk about planned projects and development, and if there were any general plans. And that wasn't one of the tribes that had any sort of information going forward. So I don't know if that means that there isn't any, or if you would just have to get it directly from whoever your contact is. But at this point, I would be okay if you just, used your CDP projections for those CDPs that cross the boundaries and created a reservation projection from those, because that's essentially what we're doing anyway. So if there's no additional information, then that's okay.
But if Caroline already started the process, I would say, just maybe follow up one more time and see what you can get from them. It's always good to be able to talk to someone.
Yeah. So what our projection for CDP projection is basically keep it constant. So we didn't really add on or increase or decrease in number. What we try to was contact our PopTech representatives to see if she can help out to look at those numbers. But if we don't hear from her, maybe we reach out to different person, different PopTech contact person and see if we can have a different feedback. Maybe we can have something come out. And actually, I have want to ask Tara how you do this the Indian tribal, because I didn't touch the Indian reservation projection. I only the CDP, and I only have those 23 CDP in the reservation. How you project the because there's some residual between CDPs. They still have some land in the tribe, but it's not belong to CDP. And also there's one CDP is in the boundary of half of the CDP is inside the reservation, and half of the CDP is outside the reservation. How you deal with it?
Yeah, so I mean, we didn't get complicated with that. So for your example, if half the CDP is in the reservation, then we just assume that half of the population of that CDP contributes to the population on the reservation. So if you have, extra land use information, which shows, all the housing units in that CDP are outside of the reservation and not in it, you have a means to adjust how that CDP's population contributes to the reservation, but we don't have that really, so it was just easier to take the percentage of population based on those GIS boundaries. And I think for the most part, a lot of the CDPs contribute either like all of their population or only a few of the CDPs have a portion of them on the reservation. I think a lot of the time it's either all or
only
nothing.
one. Actually, according to my GPS, I use the GIS to look at those CDPs. That's actually it's only one CDP is right across, chopped in half, and that is it. All of them is inside or outside.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you, Tara. Do you have an additional question or just
just one point. Was that a caller who was talking about possibly adding an area to the Valencia West CDP? Okay. I'm going to get your email from Caroline, and I'm going to connect you with the Census Bureau contact, and we can ask that question directly. Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you, Jim.
I just realized that my camera was covered. I had my, okay.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you. And any other questions regarding CDP projection? Okay, great. And just moving on next item. Item PopTech staff chair position update, and this is just solely in the verbally in the Don. Because of the Josh Pope and former a staff lead and the PopTech as a PopTech staff chair, and so now just it's actually just vacant and internally just discussed, and then just decided, and I'm going to just lead and as just a staff lead of this PopTech and working together with Eric Kramer and Caroline, so together, and so as usual, and we discussed there's just the PopTech, and so if you have just any question relevant to just the PopTech or just the meeting items and you want to discuss, and feel free to just let me know, and basically through just the meeting, and or just any further items you want to just discuss later, then just we can and bring those items together at the PopTech meeting. So for the PopTech staff chair position update, do you have any questions? Okay, yeah, great, thank you. And all those presentation material will be uploaded after this meeting. Then just feel free to follow up if you have any just additional questions. And so the item number 7, and then now actually 2:21, and so we adjourn and today's PopTech meeting. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a great rest of the day. It's going to be rain, and be careful, driving safe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Hansu.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Okay, bye.
Thank you, bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.